KLIF News and Information time is now 6:20. The Supreme Court ruling on same-sex marriage will have many legal repercussions.
A lot of things that wouldn't even occur to you.
Right.
We were talking about it earlier that one of the things that we're starting to find is that there are companies who have gone out of their way to put together what do we call it?
Same-sex benefits.
Same-sex, yeah,
and now they're doing
partner benefits.
Right, and now they're doing away with.
And now
those
they're doing
benefits.
away with them because
You have to be married to get those benefits.
right.
I guess.
And so this means that people who maybe had benefits before because they were same-sex
will lose them
partners
unless they get
are going
married.
To right. Kind of force people to get married. And there are other things too. Aubrey Connatser is an attorney with Connatser Family Law, and she joins us now to talk about a couple of these issues. Aubrey, good morning. Where is your business?
Good morning. I am at the Crescent in Dallas.
Okay, very good.
So this sort of opens up a whole new thing for you, right?
Well, all sorts of issues you wouldn't imagine are now popping up. I had a former client call me Friday afternoon saying, do I need to get divorced? She was in a same-sex relationship where they married in Canada, split in another state, moved to Texas. They had adopted a child together and had all sorts of custody issues, but no state where they had resided in the States had recognized their marriage. Well, now their marriage is recognized, and do they need to get divorced?
So it's like retroactive?
Well, sure. I mean, now that the state has to recognize that marriage, if you've remained married and haven't split since you married in another jurisdiction, it might be a good idea to remarry in the current jurisdiction where you live. And so there's all sorts of little issues people didn't realize would creep up now that there's a constitutional right to recognition of these marriages.
So,
excuse me. I'm just curious. Referring to your client who called and has sounds like a very complicated situation there. Would it be? Would it make a lot of sense to just say, you know what? Why don't the two of you get legally married again in Texas, and then we'll turn right around and file for divorce?
Could do that, but then you have all sorts of financial issues. Amy bring up a great question. Is the recognition of the marriage retroactive, and therefore any property they've acquired since they split years ago in another state, would that be deemed all community property? And then you fight over who gets all the money. How's the money split? Have they accrued certain rights in retirement benefits? Did anybody buy a lottery ticket that was a winner and now that's all community property? I mean, that's the extreme example, but one or the other of the couple is going to be in a better financial position than the other, and not going to want to split the money, but the other one's going to want the money split. So what fights are we going to have about those issues as well?
Does common law marriage apply to same-sex couples as well?
I think it would have to now. I think because those are recognized relationships, there's 3 requirements. You have to cohabitate in Texas, you have to agree to be married, and you have to hold out as married. So if there's a same-sex couple calling one another husband or wife, respectively, then yes, certainly you could be adjudicated as having been common law married as a same-sex couple.
What does that mean to hold out as married?
Holding out as married means you represent to the outside world that you're married. You wear wedding bands. You take the other person's name. You tell people you're married, even though you may not be legally married, and you file joint tax returns.
Now, let me ask you this, because I don't know this about common law marriage, gay or otherwise. Is it difficult to divorce in a common law marriage, or do you have to go through the same procedure?
You go through the same procedure. You file for divorce from your common law spouse. If the other spouse denies that there was ever a common law marriage, the court must first make a ruling on whether or not you were actually common law married and what date the marriage began, which is a fact issue. And then once the court adjudicates your marriage as having been a common law marriage, then you proceed into the divorce process.
Gosh, there are so many issues that I didn't even think about, and I don't think a lot of people thought about here.
I think so. I mean, the fact that certain states didn't recognize same-sex marriage and others did created all sorts of issues that we have dealt with for years. But I think what people didn't realize is once the blanket was cast across the nation that everyone's marriage is now legitimate and has to be accepted across the nation, there's going to be all sorts of issues we have to deal with to work through the current situations of some of the current marriages that are in place. Even though it is certainly a momentous ruling, it's going to cause some consternation in the interim, I believe.
Well, no doubt about that. There's going to be a lot of legal tangles to separate. Aubrey, thank you very much for taking a couple of minutes to talk with us this morning.
Yeah, we appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Aubrey,
Y'all have a great day.
You too. Aubrey Connatser with the Connatser Family Law Firm here in Dallas.